would push them immediately out into a big enclosure, they are normally super scared because they have never seen freedom. They only know living on bars. Basically, they don't know anything of the outside world apart from their cage.
I've never understood why bile bears fail to captivate more media attention. Some have heard of the barbaric farm practices, but few seem to know about the conservation story. Bears are poached from the wild and then filtered into bile farms, literally stripping Vietnam of their native populations. With wildlife now trafficked globally, this conservation disaster has no geographical boundaries. The demand for traditional Chinese medicine is driving this conservation problem. It has gone from Chairman Mao's healthcare system for the poor to the equivalent of Asia's big pharma, now available in 183 countries and regions, everywhere from Canada to the UK and Vietnam. But while Vietnam have made bear bile illegal, China continues to promote it, lately as part of an unproven treatment for COVID-19.
In Langong Street in Hanoi, which is the hub of the traditional medicine shops. We thought it would be worth a try to see if any of the shops were prepared to sell us any bile. So we brought an interpreter down. The first 4 shops that we went into, 3 of them had bile and were prepared to sell it to us. On the 4th shop said it was illegal, so that was good to hear. We came back later to do some photography to see if we could actually just get some pictures of some bile. At this point the shopkeepers all said no. So it's sort of clear that they're aware of the legislation at this point. They just don't wish to be seen to be breaking the legislation.
Growing plant-based alternatives to bile is definitely helping impoverished communities, but farming poached wild bears is actually fueling corruption, violence, and a disregard for animals that promotes their extinction. Nghe An Province in Vietnam has traditionally been a stronghold of illegal bear bile farming, and unsurprisingly, our undercover investigation led us here.
It's been a really gruelling and unpleasant day today. We decided to try and verify some of the facts that you see in the media about bear bile farms, and the only way to do that is to infiltrate one. They're in a dark cell. Basically the walls are lined with cages and they're quite close together. They start infilling with other cages. It stinks, and it's obviously very hot and humid constantly. Their mental condition is appalling. They are in those conditions their entire lives, and that's all they have, one small cage. And they have nothing in their cells whatsoever to stop them going crazy, basically.
They will get medications to get rid of all their infections, especially from the teeth, which are sometimes also spreading throughout the body. And then they will get some special diet, but also some medication for the liver and the gallbladder to recover a bit faster. You could see that there was really a lot of overgrowth on the paws, and that's basically because they're not walking. They only walk from one bar to the next, they only step. That's all they can do. So this part is not wearing off, and that's why it's just overgrown. It's just a sign of really how poorly they can walk their body.
We then obviously decided to try and take this a step further, and we wanted to see if we could see them doing an extraction, which they did on 3 bears, which of course is completely illegal.
Bear bile extraction is clearly at the heart of this conservation tragedy, but Vietnam law enforcement refuses to take it seriously. Research reveals that 95% of farmers admit to extracting bile, but only 5% have been given fines. According to Tuan Ben Dixon, director of Animals Asia Foundation in Vietnam, there has only been 1 bear confiscated from bile extraction, and videos such as this are not admissible in court.
It's hard to prove if it's a bile bear or not, and people are allowed to keep them as pets, so many people say it's just a pet bear.
And I think probably one of the most interesting things about the day was learning that the very good system of microchipping in 2005 that was brought in hasn't worked. The idea was to stop new bears, new wild bears coming into the system, and that means that basically there should be no new bears after 2005.
Although the best microchip technology was used at the time, authorities claimed they couldn't get close enough to safely read them. This meant they just visibly monitored bears, allowing farmers to filter in similar-looking wild bears when farm bears died. World Animal Protection are now fitting registered bears with new microchips, allowing them to be checked safely from a distance. This will certainly stem the flow of wild bears onto registered farms, but won't stop farmers hiding bears on unregistered farms that aren't checked. However, it's harder to pass off a bear under 5 years as legal. Some are obviously small, and according to Dr. Painter from VetMed Uni Vienna, the position of their ears is different. This should make confiscation straightforward. The investigation in Nghe An Province uncovered a farm full of visibly small and therefore obviously illegal bears.
The farm owner told me that most of the bears are from 3 to 5 years old. They also have some bears that are less than 1 year old. So what we can deduce from his statement is that those current batch of bears in his farm are not microchipped currently.
They'd all been shipped in from Laos, so not coming anymore from local supplies, because most of the local wild bears have all been taken out of action, as it were, and sent to the farms. Both the sun bear and the Asiatic black bear are vulnerable on the red list, and CITES Appendix 1, which is like the top protection you can get for bears.
The farm owners told me that the bears came from Laos Republic. He has to buy the bear from Laos.
Yeah.
As a cub when they were about 1 kg. Yeah, I got the impression that old bears came from Laos.
So I think, just as a quick summary, basically none of the bears are microchipped. They're all less than the 2005-2006 microchip date, and they all come from Laos.
That's right.
So I think, as a summary, that covers it, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. I agree.
But I think what's really difficult is to actually get the bears that you're allowed to go and confiscate and rescue them. So for PAWS, together with ENV and the FPD and so, they are really doing a big effort to investigate the cases, which bears can be taken can be rescued as soon as possible. So I think this is still a quite complicated issue, and that would be amazing if we can advance that, but it's very hard, and a lot of people work to get one bear to rescue. It's really a lot of work.
Government apathy fuels the loopholes that prolong this conservation disaster. While internet outlets openly advertise bile products, farmers know they can claim microchips have stopped working or bears were bred on farms without risk of prosecution. Authorities don't keep track of bear deaths, allowing farmers to replace them with more wild bears. Slow response time allows illegal bears to be shuffled between premises before inspections, and not dismantling the empty bear cages that allow this to happen. Sensing the government's apathy, the wildlife criminals now feel they can break the law with impunity. Wildlife criminals are not only breaking the law, but now intimidating the authorities. In 2007, 50 Forest Protection Department officers were chased off a bile farm in Nghe An Province, abandoning the 3 young bears they were trying to confiscate. Nghe An Province is as lawless today as it was then. Instead of confiscating, fining and arresting the Nghe An 13 farmers, the authorities had to deal with rioting and the attempted kidnap of 2 female charity workers. While the charity workers escaped with their lives, only 3 of the 9 bears on Farm 1 were released in a highly stressful encounter. To avoid violent conflict, authorities negotiate the release of illegal bears. But if farmers don't want to, it simply doesn't happen. While Farm 1 isn't registered, local authorities claim 3 of the remaining bears have microchips and the other 3 have broken microchips. As there are no registered bear cubs born in captivity in Nghe An Province, one has to question why the authorities have failed to confiscate the remaining bears from Farm 1. I'll be honest, there have been times when I have wanted to give up on the Nghe An 13 bears in Vietnam. It's been a very long journey. I put 2 pictures on my fridge. One of the really sad bears from Farm 1, just to remind myself that they are still out there. And the other photo is actually of one of the 3 bears that has actually been confiscated from the farm and has gone to the Four Paws Bear Sanctuary. And that's just to remind myself what happens when I don't give up.